Hi, I'm Quan. Today I will present about the history of computing. Okay, we'll go from the earliest mechanical computers through the first electronic computers and to today's microprocessors. In the early years, the abacus is generally considered to be the first mechanical computer. This is the image of abacus. More stepping stone. In 1642, Blaise Pascal created an adding machine with an automatic carries from one position to the next. In 1673, Godfrey Leibniz built a calculator capable of multiplication. Third industrial use. In French, Georges-Marie Quan invented an automatic loom using punch card for the control of the pattern in the fabrics. The introduction of the looms caused the riot against the replacement of people by machines. This is Charles Babbage, the father of computer. In 1822, designed the difference engine for the purpose of computing the entries in navigational and other tables. Even received the first government grant for computer research. In 1833, designed the analytical engine that has the basic components of a modern computer. Unfortunately, due to poor documentation, most of its idea was lost. So, who is the world's first programmer? In 1842, Ada Augusta King, Countess of Lovelace, translated Memory's pamphlet on the analytical engine, adding her own note, and became the world's first programmer. Between 1847 and 1849, Babbage continued working on the second version of different machine and raw plans for it. In 1991, the Science Museum in Kensington, England built the second version using the 19th century technology. More milestone. Between 1860 and 1929, Herman Hollerith made the Kansas tablet speed up to 1,890 sensors. In 1890, Herman Hollerith won the competition for the delivery of data processing equipment to assist in the processing of data from the 19, 18, and 19 US census. The company he founded, Hollerith Tabulating Company (HTC), which merged with two other companies to become CTR in 1914, and was renamed International Business Machine (IBM) in 1924. This set the trend for three-letter names in the computer industry. The ABC. Between 1936 and 1939, John Vincent Antasop with John Perry developed the ABC, the Antasop Perry computer at Iowa State University, USA, as a special purpose machine for the solution of sets of linear equations in physics. Perhaps the earliest example of an electronic calculator, the ABC contained concepts that would appear later in modern computers. The ALU writing memory, but this computer exists. It is still not considered by most as the true first electronic computer. The first bug. In 1945, Grace Murray Hopper at Harvard University on the Mark II computer found the first computer bug, written to death in the jaws of a replay. She glued it into the logbook of the computer. This is the image of the first bug. NYAC, the first electronic computer. In 1943, work on ENYAC was started at the University of Pennsylvania with John Macleay and John Bresser-Eckert responsible for its implementation. The U.S. Army license was Herman Gosling. In 1946, ENIAC was unveiled in Philadelphia, having been a secret during the war. ENIAC was programmed through the rewriting of interconnection between the various components. ENIAC was later to be modified into a stored program machine. More about ENIAC. ENIAC was a general-purpose computer used for computing uh, arithmetic table. It was U-shaped, 20 meters long, uh, 2.5 height, and 1 meters wide. ENIAC used 18,000 vacuum tubes. Programming was done by blocking cables and setting switch. Data was entered by punch card. Programming for typical calculation took from half an hour to a day. ENIAC was 2 magnitudes larger and 4 magnitudes lower than modern computer. This is the photo of ENIAC. This is another photo of ENIAC. The von Neumann computer. In 1944, John von Neumann joined the NIAC project. The idea of storing programs as numbers was proposed. In 1945, von Neumann wrote a memo proposing a stored program computer called EDVAC. Goldstein distributed the memo, put von Neumann's name on it, and omitted Across and Mauchly's name. Most computer historians agree that von Neumann received far more credit than he deserved. The most prestigious award in the field of computer architecture is the Eckert-Mauchly Award. The transistor. In 1947, William Shockley, John Bryan, and Walter Benson invented the transfer resistant device, later to be known as the transistor, that will revolutionize the computer and give it reliability that could not achieve with vacuum tubes. In 1948, Watson ordered the building of the Selected Sequence Control Computer (SSEC) for IBM. In 1949, the first large-scale, fully functional stored program electronic digital computer was developed by Maurice Wilkes and the staff of Mathematical Laboratory at Cambridge University. It was named EDSAC. In 1951, the Univac built by Remington Rand and designed by Eckert and Mauchly was sold to the U.S. government for $1 million. 48 systems were built and sold. In the 1890s, IBM's come with a series of computers, 701, 702, 650, 305, and 704. Chain Adam is by IBM Chief Architect. Memory is upgraded to core memory and magnetic taps to discrete movable with write tabs. In 1957, Fortran, one of the first programming language, introduced. In 1958, integrated circuit invented. In 1959, Seymour Cray started working at CDC as its chief architect. At 1962, the first IC computer built by Fairchild. In 1963, the AXC2 code invented. In 1964, IBM's IPM and 360 introduced, Dr. Thomas and Dr. Cooks began developing a programming language. In 1965, Digital Equipment Corporation introduced the PDP-8, the first truth mini computer. In 1969, work on ARPANET, the predecessor of the Internet, begins. This is the 1970s first half. In the 1971, the first microprocessor, the Intel 4004, first floppy disk as well. These two inventions are the roots of the personal computing. In 1973, Ethernet invented at XEROX. In 1974, first ATM. In 1975, the first PC, the MITS Enter 8800. It have 8,373 bits of memory, not 2,005, not 256,000, but had no keyboard, no display, and no auxiliary storage device. Later, Bill Gates and Paul Allen wrote their first product for the Enter, a basic compiler named after a planet on a Star Trek episode. This is in 1976, Quan, first supercomputer announced. In 1976, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak produced the Apple II that was assembled and complete with its own keyboard and monitor. The IBM PC introduced. In 1981, IBM entered the field with the IBM PC and supported by DOS operating system developed under an agreement that gave Microsoft on the profit in exchange for the development costs having been borne by Microsoft. The PC microprocessor was the Intel 8086. In 1982, computer chosen as Man of the Year by the Time magazine. In 1984, based on the Intel by XEROX, the Macintosh is introduced. The mouse and the icon became the major tools for the computer interaction. Windows and World Wide Web. In 1985, Microsoft introduced Windows, a GUI for IBM PC compatible computer, but at 2000, Windows XP fueling the PC's explosion of the 90s. In 1989, former Swiss physics Tim Berners-Lee invented the World Wide Web. Today, the World Wide Web is the foundation for most Internet communication and service. In 1996, the Palm Pilot handheld computer was introduced and signed to the world. Now, millions of people rely on Palm Pilots and other similar handhelds. Problem and powerful chips. Between 1998 and 2000, the year 2000 problem, the millennium bug known as Y2K, made millions of programs affected by fixed cost of the US economy about $200 billion. At 2000, check qubits third integrated circuit contain a single transistor. Tens of thousands of engineers around the world have built on Mr. qubit invention. My presentation is end. Thanks for listening. I'm Quan from Dean 17 XP.